Hi there, this is David and welcome to our review of Atelier Ryza, released for the PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. My first introduction to this infamous series was the Mana Khemia duology, as well as the Atelier Iris trilogy released on the PlayStation 2, and I thoroughly enjoyed all 5 of them. In fact, I thought that they were some of the best RPGs on the system, with wonderful characters, great voice acting, beautiful, lush areas to explore, along with some fun stories. I couldn't get enough of them. However, much to my chagrin, those games were just side stories within the much larger Atelier universe. And the side stories, at least here in America, pretty much began and ended on the PS2, and then what we were stuck with after that was the mainline series. When the HD generation came into fruition, and I saw all the Atelier games released for it, I was honestly pretty excited to play them, considering how much I love the iterations on the PS2. However, my enthusiasm was quickly dashed whenever I was greeted with anime tropes, sexualized storylines, a completely draconian time limit system, and drastically smaller areas. Yeah, the graphics were pretty, and so was the music, but the increased focus on alchemy and the ridiculous time limits really killed all the enjoyment that I had for the series. Whenever I play an RPG, I like to sit back, relax, and immerse myself in the experience. Not be stressed out and worry about arbitrary time limits. And yeah, while I did get through the entire trilogy, I eventually just stopped buying them because they never got any better. It was just oh my god moment after oh my god moment between all those time limits and the ridiculous crafting. Because of the bad taste that the series left in my mouth, I pretty much just went ahead and ignored all the other games released on the PS3 and PS4. And although I did hear that they changed somewhat for the better, I was just burned way too hard to give them a second chance. That is, until Atelier Ryza came around and I heard that it was just a game changer in many ways. I had already seen Lent, who hadn't? But more importantly, the battle system was revamped. The areas were made larger, and the great characterization was back. And while the focus on crafting was still there, it wasn't as harsh as it was in the previous games. But, most importantly, the time limits are 100% completely gone. My good friend Serena, who I met through Twitch and the Discord, sent me a copy of it for my birthday. I was stoked, and I wanted to give it a shot and see for myself how the series had changed. Did it get better? And could it be something that I could get into again? Or is it still the same old nonsense that I ran into on the PS3? That is what I intend to answer here. I am happy to say that it has indeed changed for the better, and it's something that I can get into and enjoy. Yeah, it still does revolve around crafting, and yeah, it is annoying to not just be able to run into a dungeon and get to where you need to go, because instead you're going to be zigzagging all over the place and stopping at every single gathering point that you come across to grab all of your crafting crap, but other than that, it's still a lot of fun. Taking place on a small, tranquil island off the coast of the mainland, and telling the story of a group of teenagers rebelling against their parents and wanting to get away from the doldrums of their everyday life, Ryza and her friends spirit away on a boat to the mainland, explore ruins, and set up their own beautiful little secret hideout where they can train to become stronger, learn alchemy, research ancient languages, and, play the flute. Essentially, it's a slice of life, coming-of-age story concerning friends who just want to be able to grow up into the adults that they would like to become, and on their own terms. The story is sweet, and not creepy in the way that some of these games can be. Well, at least not in the mainline story. The creepiness comes in some of the side quests and the DLC, though. The battle system has been completely revamped. It's no longer strictly turn-based. It's more kind of active turn-based. You have a turn order gauge, similar to Grandia, where everybody's turn is moving, but it only stops on the person's turn that you're actually controlling, not all of your party members' turns. So you need to be really quick with your choices, and since you only control one of your characters at a time, you'll be switching between them like a madman with the L and R buttons if you really want to make the most out of the battles. If you don't though, the AI will take control of them. In order to make the battles even more interactive, your partners will then ask you to perform specific tasks and actions, and if you do so, they'll unleash more powerful attacks. It's really fun, intuitive, and rewarding. Quests are plentiful, and the vast majority of them involve crafting specific items. They're easy to manage as the game does it automatically for you, and you're free to fulfill them or ignore them as you see fit. Personally, I went around and accepted all the quests, but then only really focused on completing them whenever I just kind of happened to be in the general vicinity of the quest giver or incidentally made the item that they needed. I didn't go out of my way for them at all, and I still completed about most of them. Crafting can be as involved as you'd like it to be. At first, it seems really complicated, but in all actuality, all you really have to do is hit the R button, choose your quality, and then the game's going to do all the crafting for you. That is, unless you want to unlock a new recipe, which you can do by experimenting with the process. However, the game guides you through this as well, so it's never too frustrating. What can be frustrating, though, is the lack of direction, especially in the first few hours of the game. Many times your characters will just chat nonchalantly about whatever happens to be on their mind, and then you think, well, okay, what do I do now? Where do I go? How do I move the plot along? And the only way to find this out is to hit the start button, where it's there explicitly stated what you need to do. I found myself hitting the start button after every single major cutscene, because the game does a horrible job of telling you what to do next. In fact, sometimes the only way to move on is to rest for a few days in your bedroom. It's so odd. If the game doesn't have a time limit, why does it make you waste time going to bed? It just seems like some sort of archaic holdover from the past games. A similarly annoying thing that's only present for the first few hours is the fast travel system. You can warp to your room at any time by hitting the touchpad, and then you can warp around town using the signposts scattered throughout. But because you're going to be warping all over the place, it just seems really clumsy. But it gets so much better whenever you build your hideout. But seriously, they should have just had the better fast travel system implemented right from the get-go. Atelier Ryza is a game that actually respects your time, rather than makes you waste your time, and I appreciate that. There are a few minor gripes that I have with it though, like no English voice acting, and not being able to change the character that you want to control on a map screen. You're always going to be controlling Ryza and seeing her, but I would much rather control a certain super hot muscly redhead. However, those are some minor gripes in an otherwise fantastic game, and I am happy to report that the series definitely underwent a change for the better. In the span of one console generation, the franchise went from best on the system down to fan-servicey anime crap, and then back up to one of the high points on the PS4. And I, for one, am looking forward to seeing how Ryza and her companions fare in the recently released sequel. Well, that's it for my review of Atelier Ryza. If you like this video and what I do here on the channel, please consider supporting me over on Patreon for exclusive videos and early access to my content, heading on over to Twitch for some streaming fun, or coming over to my Discord to chat and hang out. The links to them all can be found in the video description. This has been David, and if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.